Part 1, Extended. Daniel closed the door after Victoria left, locking it out of habit. Then he leaned his forehead against the wood and exhaled slowly. He hadn't felt this unsettled in years. Not since the night he walked away from everything. He crossed the apartment, peered through the narrow gap in the curtain, and scanned the street below. The black sedan was still there, engine running, lights off. He memorized its position, license plate partially obscured, driver pretending to scroll on his phone. Professional. Daniel stepped back, heart steady, mind cold. So it begins. That night, Lily fell asleep curled against his side, clutching her favorite stuffed fox. Daniel lay awake, staring at the ceiling, counting breaths. His mind replayed the accident frame by frame. The angle of impact. The speed. Too clean to be random. Someone had wanted that SUV stopped. Or wanted the woman inside it shaken. Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale Dynamics. Daniel hadn't needed to Google her. He'd known the name the second she spoke it in his apartment, felt it like a punch to the ribs. Hale Dynamics was no ordinary company. It had contracts Daniel had once protected with his life. Contracts that had cost men theirs. He'd sworn he was done with that world. But it never stayed buried forever. The next morning, Daniel walked Lily to school as usual. Same route, same timing, different awareness. He noticed the man pretending to tie his shoe near the corner cafe. The delivery van that passed twice. The way a black sedan trailed him just far enough to look coincidental. Lily skipped ahead, unaware. "Daddy," she said, turning back. "You're being quiet again." He smiled softly. "Just thinking. About grown-up stuff." "Yeah," he admitted. "But you don't need to worry about that." She grinned. "Good. Because Mrs. Alvarez says worrying gives you wrinkles." Daniel chuckled. But his eyes never stopped moving. Victoria Hale sat alone in her penthouse kitchen, staring at her phone. She hadn't slept either. She kept seeing Daniel's apartment in her mind, small, warm, honest. Nothing curated, nothing performative, no security team, no assistants, no agenda, just a man who'd looked at her like she was human. That terrified her more than any boardroom fight ever had. She scrolled through the report her head of security had sent. Subject: Daniel Cole. Age: 42. Occupation: hardware store clerk, night warehouse supervisor. Marital status: widower. Military record: none found. Victoria frowned. That wasn't possible. Men didn't move like that without training. They didn't stay calm under pressure unless they'd learned how to survive chaos. She tapped out a message. Dig deeper. Off books. International databases. A moment later, 3 dots appeared. Then stopped. Her phone rang. "Victoria," her security chief said carefully. "There are gaps." "What kind of gaps?" "The kind that aren't accidental." Her pulse quickened. Meaning someone erased him. Professionally. Silence filled the kitchen. "Find out who," Victoria said quietly. "Yes, ma'am." She ended the call and stared out at the city. For the first time in her life, power didn't make her feel safe. Daniel felt it before it happened. That prickle at the base of his neck. He'd just finished his warehouse shift and was walking to his truck when the lights went out. Not the streetlights. The block. Darkness swallowed the lot. Daniel stopped walking. Listened. Footsteps. 2. No, 3. He slowly set his lunch bag on the ground and raised his hands halfway. "Store's closed," he said calmly. "Whatever you're selling, I'm not buying." A chuckle echoed from the shadows. "Still got the mouth on you, Cole." Daniel's jaw tightened. That voice. He turned slightly, angling his body, eyes adjusting. A man stepped into the faint glow of a distant emergency light. Tall, military posture, scar along his jaw. Daniel hadn't seen him in 12 years. "Reyes," Daniel said flatly. "Ghost," Reyes replied with a grin. "Or do you go by, Daniel, now? What do you want?" Reyes circled slowly. "Word is, you got close to a very important woman." Daniel's hands curled into fists. "Stay away from her." Reyes laughed. "That's not your call anymore." The second man lunged. Daniel moved. Fast. A pivot. An elbow. A knee to the ribs. The man went down gasping before he even understood what happened. The third reached for a weapon. Daniel disarmed him, twisted his arm, and slammed him into the asphalt. Controlled, precise, lethal restraint held back by sheer will. Reyes raised his hands, amused. "Relax," he said. We're not here to fight. Daniel stepped closer, voice low and dangerous. Then you picked the wrong way to say hello. Reyes leaned in. They want you back. I'm out. No one's ever out, Reyes said. Especially not legends. Daniel released the man and stepped back. Tell them I'm dead. Reyes smiled sadly. You were. Until you saved her. Then he turned and disappeared into the dark. The lights flickered back on seconds later. Daniel stood alone in the lot, chest rising and falling. His past wasn't knocking anymore. It had kicked the door in. Victoria felt the moment something changed. She was in a board meeting when her phone vibrated, once. A code she hadn't used in years. Security alert. Direct threat identified. She stood abruptly. Meeting adjourned. Executives protested. She didn't care. By the time she reached her car, her head of security was already waiting. It's him, isn't it? She asked. Yes, he said. And whoever he used to be, they're interested again. Victoria closed her eyes. Bring him to me, she said. Her security chief hesitated. Respectfully, ma'am, he may be more dangerous than the people watching him. Victoria opened her eyes, steel replacing fear. Then he's exactly the man I want between me and them. That night, Daniel sat at Lily's bedside, watching her sleep. He brushed hair from her forehead, kissed her gently. I tried, he whispered. I really did. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. One message. We need to talk. V. Daniel stared at the screen. Outside, a black sedan rolled silently past the building. Inside, a former Special Forces legend made a decision he knew would change everything. He typed back. One conversation. That's it. The storm was coming. And this time, Daniel wouldn't run. CEO fell in love with a humble single dad, not knowing he was a former Special Forces legend. Part 2. Victoria Hale arrived without a security convoy. That alone told Daniel everything. She stood across the street from his apartment, rain darkening the shoulders of her coat, eyes fixed on his building like she was bracing herself for impact. Daniel watched from the third-floor window. Then he grabbed his jacket. They met in a quiet diner on the edge of the city, the kind of place no one important ever went unless they wanted to be forgotten. Neon lights buzzed overhead. A bell chimed softly as the door closed behind them. Victoria slid into the booth first. You look tired, she said. So do you, Daniel replied. A waitress brought coffee. Neither of them touched it. Victoria took a breath. I know who you are. Daniel didn't flinch. Not the name you use, she continued. The one that was erased. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. Then you know why this is dangerous. Yes, she said. And I know why you saved me. That wasn't about you, Daniel said quietly. That was instinct. Victoria leaned forward. Then why are people watching you now? Daniel's jaw tightened. They always were, he said. You just gave them a reason to move. Silence stretched. Victoria broke it. They tried to scare me. The crash wasn't an accident. Daniel's eyes darkened. I figured. She swallowed. They want leverage. And I think they want you. They don't get either, Daniel said. Victoria studied him. You walked away from power. From violence. From a life men kill for. I walked away for my daughter, he said simply. Something softened in her expression. You love her more than your own safety. I love her more than my past. Across the city, men in black watched the diner through tinted glass. Confirm identity, one said into a mic. The reply came fast. Confirmed. Ghost is active. Daniel drove Victoria back himself. Her hand brushed his on the gear shift, accidental, electric. Neither pulled away immediately. At her building, she hesitated before opening the door. Stay, she said. It wasn't a command. It was a plea. Daniel should have said no. Instead, he followed her inside. Victoria's penthouse was glass and steel, but that night, it felt fragile. They stood by the window, city lights glowing below. I've never trusted anyone like this, Victoria admitted. And I don't know why it's you. Daniel exhaled slowly. Because I'm not trying to take anything from you. She turned to him. And what do you want? Daniel met her eyes. Peace. Her laugh was soft, almost broken. So do I. They didn't kiss. Not yet. The moment was too honest for that. The attack came at 2:14 a.m. Daniel was already awake. He felt the pressure change before the glass shattered. He moved fast, grabbing Victoria, pulling her down as bullets punched through the window where she'd been standing seconds earlier. Stay down, he ordered. His voice was different now. Cold, commanding. He moved through the penthouse like a ghost, flipping tables, cutting lights, positioning her behind reinforced walls she didn't even know existed. "How do you know all this?" she whispered. "Your father built this place," Daniel replied. "I helped protect him once." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "Daniel, who are you?" "Someone who failed to stay dead." The elevator shaft exploded. Daniel grabbed a weapon from a fallen intruder, efficient, lethal. 3 men entered. None left standing. When the silence returned, Daniel checked Victoria for injuries. She was shaking. Not from fear. From realization. "You're not running anymore," she said. He nodded. "Neither are you." By dawn, the truth was out. Victoria's security chief arrived with a team. They stared at Daniel like they were looking at a myth. "Ghost," one whispered. Daniel ignored them. He knelt in front of Victoria. "This ends one of 2 ways," he said. "I disappear again. Or I stay and protect what matters." Victoria took his face in her hands. "You're not leaving," she said firmly. "Not alone." Later that morning, Daniel picked Lily up from school. Victoria stood across the street, watching the little girl throw her arms around him. "That's your reason," Victoria said softly. "Yes," Daniel replied. She smiled. "Then let me be part of it." Daniel hesitated, then nodded. That night, Daniel stood on the balcony of Victoria's penthouse, city wind on his face. "Reyes," words echoed in his mind. "No one's ever out." Daniel looked inside, at Victoria laughing softly as Lily showed her a drawing. For the first time in years, Daniel allowed himself a dangerous thought. Maybe this life is worth fighting for. Far away, a phone rang. A voice spoke calmly. "Activate Phase 2. The war had just begun."